Well, hello, darlings. I have a bit of an Irish story for you today. I hope you enjoy it. This one is called Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. There I am in the desert. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, muchly, much, much more unlucky than you. You could be sitting on a cactus after all. Be glad you don't work on the Bunglebung Bridge that they're building across Boober Bay at Bum Ridge. It's a troublesome world. All the people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful a whole heaping lot for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Looks a wee bit complicated there, doesn't it? Apparently not as hard as turning the page. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Guzate and got caught in that traffic on Zate, Highway 8. My heavens. Looks a bit like Houston in rush hour. Or suppose, just for instance, you lived in Gazaire with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. My heavens, that's an awful lot of stairs. Suppose, just suppose, you're poor Harvey Hart, who has taken his thromdimulator apart. He never will get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gick or the gore fits into the scrucks or the snucks or the snore. Yes, ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thromdimulator apart. That's a lot of parts. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Ollie Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his stingy old uncle will pay for his shoving that mower around in that hay is the pipulous pay of 2 ducats a day. And Ollie can't live on such pipulous pay. So he has to paint flagpoles on Sundays in Grews. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. My heavens. Those are some interesting looking flagpoles there. Don't believe I've ever seen one like that. And poor Mr. Bix, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has his barfin to fix. It doesn't seem fair, it just doesn't seem right, but his barfin just seems to go slump every night. It slumps in a heap, sadly needing repair, but Bix figures it's due to the local night air. It takes him all day to unslump it, and then the night air comes back and it slumps once again. So don't you feel blue, don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a barfin that slumps. Look at that. Never seen one so slumpy. My heavens. And while we are at it, consider the schlots, the crumple-horn, web-footed, green-bearded schlots, whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. Look at all those knots. My heavens. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a wamel. A wamel, you know, is a sort of a saddle, held on by a button that's known as a faddle. And boy, if your old wamel faddle gets loose, I'm telling you, ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T crosser, I dotter. He has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in an I&T factory out in Van Nuys. I think that would make my eyes go cross-eyed, what do you think? Oh, the jobs people work at out west near Hotch Hotch. There's a Hotch Hotcher bee watcher. His job is to watch, is to keep both his eyes on the lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, that bee didn't watch any harder. Not much. Then somebody said, our old bee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another Hotch Hotcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher. Well, that sounds like a poor executive decision, but a typical one. The bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another Hotch Hotcher had to come in as a watcher. And today, all the Hotchers who live in Hotch Hotch are watching on watcher in watch. Watching the watcher who's watching that bee. You're not a Hotch watcher. You're lucky, you see. Good grief. That's a lot of watching. And how fortunate you're not Professor DeBreeze, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Javanese. I'm not a duck, but I couldn't do it. And think of the poor puffin Pooglehorn players who have to parade down the Pooglehorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Pooboken. It's awful how often their poogles get broken. In case you were wondering what a poogle looks like, that's it. Who knew? Oh, just suppose you were poor Harry Haddo. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his giz, and I think that by golly there probably is. See? Poor fella. No shadow. And the brothers Bazoo, the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to do. You think you're unlucky. I'm telling you, ducky. Some people are muchly, oh ever so muchly more unlucky than you. Look at that hair. Crazy beards growing there. And suppose that you lived in that forest in France where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. But your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy, and you ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? My goodness, look at that. Stole his pants. It's still a G-rated book though. And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladdish. You're not Farmer Falkenberg's 17th radish. If you look closer, you can see why. It's about to be eaten by a little worm. And you're so lucky you're not Gucky Gown, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Runk. Runk is rather run down. Looks a bit like an old amusement park or something. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock, left behind by mistake in the caverns of Croc. Way down there. In case you were wondering, that's probably where all of those missing socks are. But thank goodness for all of the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some punkerish place like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's why I say, Ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much, so muchly, much more unlucky than you. Perhaps you have the luck of the Irish in you, darling. I hope so. I hope you've enjoyed our little story today. We'll read you another one next time. Bye for now.